Good morning. Hi, it is Stacy, and we are Loving My Veteran, and this is Walking in My Shoes this morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great morning. Grab your coffee, and let's get ready to have a little conversation as the holidays are quickly approaching. We will not be doing lives tomorrow on Christmas Eve or Friday, Christmas Day. We will start again on next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And just so everybody is aware, we have already posted to the group the January planner, schedule, and inspirational type thing that will be available. So you can print it out and follow along with everything we're going to do on Walking in My Shoes going into January. There's room for you to journal at the bottom of each section for each day, and we're going to talk about our rights. And there's certain rights that every human being and everybody has, and are going to be able to follow that as well. So just wanted to say good morning and let everybody know where we are with that. So that is available on a file. Just go to the group. You can print out the file, and the whole journal is there. It's like 4 pages, 5 pages. That you can keep and follow through with where we're going and take notes and write your thoughts or feelings, whatever you choose to do. So that's one thing. Good morning to my amazing veteran. Just wanted everybody to know that, that was available. We had somebody talk yesterday or ask yesterday about how to interpret their actions and their words. And if you go and you look at what Nakia posted today about, it was such a great thing on points to ponder, was sometimes our words are our most hateful things. And we interpret things so differently. A lot of times we find that we say words that come out, and depending on our moods or their moods. So remember, this is a two-way street. So depending on the moods we have, it kind of, and where we are, it kind of goes back in and will take things the wrong way. And we do that a lot. Carl and I do that a lot. We misinterpret what we're saying, and we finally gotten to a point in communication that we can say, hey, I heard this. It may not be what he meant to say or what I meant to say, but it's the way the other one interpreted what was said. So the I heard this, we're now being able to say. And that's come a long way in where we're at in our communication with each other. The other thing we look at is our actions and our body language. Our body language speaks volumes. I didn't realize how much it spoke, but it speaks volumes. And especially when you realize whatever your veteran did in the military, they were taught to read body language, so that becomes a whole different avenue. And in our case, he was taught interrogation, which a lot of them are. And so just my demeanor sometimes comes across in a different way. And so that plays a huge role in what we're doing. So I'll give you an example. I am famous for doing this, or twiddling my thumbs, or tapping my foot. It's just something I do, and I kind of do it more out of habit. So especially in the beginning when we would get into conversations, he would point at my foot and say, And I'm like, what? And he's like, this means. And I'm like, no, it doesn't mean anything. It means my foot's tapping. And you go, okay. And so I took it like, here you are analyzing me and how I move my foot, right? Which totally stopped our conversation and where we were going, because he saw it as something different. I'm a fidgeter. I always am. Y'all see me talk with my hands. I move a lot. So if I was sitting there like picking at my finger or moving a thumb or whatever, he saw it as not being focused on what was going on. So I think that our body language portrays something sometimes that we don't, when we're trying to communicate, that we don't, that sends a message that may not be the message we're trying to deliver. So for us, and again, I can only tell you what we have to do. Um, I have now, usually when we're having a conversation, we're both sitting at opposite ends of the couch. I kind of now turn my body to face him. I do lay my hands in my lap, and I'm very cautious about not crossing my arms because that sends the sign that you're disengaged. So I don't do that as much anymore. I just kind of lay them in my lap and just kind of relax. No matter how tense I am, I try to be thoughtful of that, so that kind of helps going forward into an engaging conversation. I also know very much when he gets in a mood, and that's something that comes with time. That's something that comes as your communication gets better. You kind of can sense that. So for him, he takes a lot of deep breaths, and so you'll hear these. Okay. Well, in the beginning, I always thought that every time he did that, there was something going on, and so it was like, I'm like, what are you having this sigh for? Because when I sigh, it usually means that I've got something going on in my head, and I just take this deep sigh. For him, it doesn't mean anything. He's like, I'm just breathing. Good morning. So, yeah, you have to be aware of that. Now, there are times that he will sigh or breathe, and it's more like this. That is something going on in his head that he's trying to deal with. And so I learned that, and that just comes, again, that is his demeanor. He also goes from a very relaxed position. You can watch him, he literally rolls his shoulders, right, and stands in this position, and he tenses up, and that's usually a sign that something is going on in his head, whether it's a perceived threat, whether it's something that comes into his mind quickly that he has to deal with and get out, whether that's I've said a word or two that may not be what he interprets. That rolling of the shoulders and that kind of repositioning thing does that. And I asked him one day, I said, what the heck are you doing that for? And it came from when he was deployed. Sorry, I got to turn the ringer off. I keep forgetting that they had their sleeves rolled up, and it was a way that they repositioned their sleeves on their biceps. And so I asked him that one day, and that's kind of where that comes from. So when I see him do that, I kind of know that he's really kicking into that military mode, which I thought was kind of interesting. So that is body language and learning those triggers and learning how to interpret that. So it's just something we have to kind of learn to become aware of as we go forward. Learning what they say or what we say and what they hear and what we hear is not necessarily the same thing. That's why I absolutely positively hate text messaging, because you don't hear inflection in people's voice. It's just words. So if you're in a bad mood and somebody texts you, or you've been inundated with texts or phone calls or messages, or you're trying to have a conversation and somebody sends something to you, your demeanor when you pick up that phone is like, yeah, and like they're invading your space. So the way you interpreted that text message is totally different, or maybe totally different than the way the message was sent, because you don't get that. So like Roxana this morning says, good morning, right? Great. She means good. Have a good morning. It's a great morning. We're here. But a lot of times we'll send text to people and we'll say morning, because we try to speed things up. Well, they left the word good off. So does that mean they're really having a good morning, or does that mean morning, or what does that mean? And depending on our mood, if we're busy and we have a lot going on, like this morning, we're fostering my son's dog, and the two big dogs kind of had this little food aggression thing. If somebody would have texted me and said morning, my mood would have been totally different than it would have been if I would have had 2 cups of coffee and been totally relaxed, right? So I would have taken it differently. And sorry, y'all know I'm sucking down coffee this morning. So that plays a role in how we interpret their words. Veterans, as a typical rule, are short, sweet, and non-sugar coated. Short, sweet, non-sugar coated. That's it. It's directive, it's action, it's clear, it's non-sugar coated, and there's no feeling involved. It's just spit out the word. And that's kind of what they do. Was born and raised in the South. Everything is, hey, sweetie, honey. We drip honey and sugar off of everything. I mean, for crying out loud, the South is where pralines came from, where you take these amazing pecans and you dip them full of brown sugar and goodness, and they are syrupy sweet, dippy sweet, good. Okay, so everything I say is sugar-coated. Just because that's how I was raised. We don't drink tea. When somebody orders a glass of tea in the South, they don't ever say sweet or unsweet. If you want unsweet tea, you have to tell them, because every tea in the South comes sweet. That's just the way we are. So therefore, the words we use are sugar-coated. Just the thing that we do down here. So when we sugarcoat things, we expect, because that's the way I dish it out, that's the way I expect to get things back. And I can remember when I first started paramedic, they said, hang on, I gotta turn some heat on real quick. Sorry, y'all. They said, don't talk to people in this honey, sweetie, whatever, you may offend them. Look, if I go into some little old lady's house in the South, and I go in and I say, good morning, ma'am. How are you feeling today, ma'am? I hope you're having a good day. They're going to be totally disengaged. But in the South, when I walk in their house, I'm like, hey, darling, what's going on today? Now they're totally engaged. So even male paramedics that we see going into house, they talk the same way. Hey, sweetie, what's going on today? Hey, darling. So the way we do that, and when you come from a world that we do that, and they are so non-sugar coated, it makes things very different. And I'll give you an example. Carl and I were having a conversation last night. It was almost in a joking manner. I hadn't felt good. My tummy had been a little rumbly. And so, yes, short, sweet, and unfiltered. That's all that comes out their mouth, and it is very unfiltered. I'm unfiltered too, though. I can sugarcoat, but I have no filter. So I was going in to get my medicine, and I made a comment about my tummy, and I said, I kind of feel like I did the day I gave Seth's hamster an entire carrot. My youngest son, I fed his hamster, his little itty bitty hamster, when he was little. I fed that little itty bitty hamster a whole carrot. Let me just tell you, that is not good, because their like intestines fall out, and it was ugly. And so I made this comment about that as I walked in the thing. I said, I kind of feel like the hamster with a carrot. And Carl goes to me, we'll go with that. Well, I took it as like, well, so what? Am I making up a story? Right? And I said, just what did you mean by that? Because I'm telling you how I felt. And he said, I didn't mean anything by that, Stacy. I just meant, we'll go with that. If that's how you feel, we'll go with that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it almost created this conflict just in his words, we'll go with that. I was kind of hoping, well, baby, I'm really sorry that your tummy feels that way. That's kind of where I was hoping, right? And what do I get? We'll go with that. And I'm like, well, what, am I lying to you? So the verbiage they use is different. And when they say something that offends you sometimes, and again, this comes with learning communication. When they say something that offends you sometimes, if you stop for a minute and say, hey, I took that as, right? And you phrase it that way. I took that as. Then it gives them chance to clarify. And in the beginning, Carl would say, like, well, it's not my fault how you take it. And I'm like, yeah, it is your fault because that's the way it was delivered and that was my mood. So now we've come to that thing, and they do sound cold sometimes, and they do because they don't engage well. They don't engage in conversation well. You can put veterans together, or veterans and their buddies together, and they can talk all day long about everything, and they all understand this grunt. I got your six, we're 5 by 5, left, right, left, whatever terms they're using, okay? And it's like speaking in freaking Morse code somewhere, and they can just look at each other and nod, and it's like they're done with their conversation, where we'll sit down and say, "All right, babe, how was your day?" And I'm talking to Roxana or Michelle or whoever. "How was your day? What went on?" And we want to know. And they give this other a nod, and they're done. They know what they're feeling. And I'm like, "Ooh, okay." I want to have a conversation, but they speak some language. Well, that's just because that's what they do. So we have to learn to tell them, "Hey, this is what I hear. And I'm interpreting it this way." And that gives them the opportunity over time. Please remember, none of this happens overnight. This has been a long journey. It seems like it's been 20-year long journey. It hasn't. But over time, we've learned that, hey, she's not quite getting it the way I mean it. And we're getting past that frustration of him not getting it the way I mean it, or me not getting it the way he means it. Because a lot of times I'll say something to him and he's like, he gets offended. And I'm like, "But honey, I didn't mean it that way." "But that's the way you said it." "But that's not the way I meant it." You got to put the whole conversation in context. There's another thing about a veteran, and I don't know if y'all's are this way, but mine is this way, okay? Sentence by sentence is context to context to them. Okay? Sentence by sentence is context to context to them. So if we're talking about something and we're 3 sentences into this conversation, and I say something that reflects back on 3 sentences ago or 4 sentences ago, he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" But 3 sentences ago I said, and he said, "Well, but that's not what we're talking about now." And I'm like, "What do you mean that's not what we're talking about now? We're having a conversation. A conversation is multiple sentences compiled upon each other, right? Makes paragraphs, conversations." And he'll go back and he'll be like, "But that's not the point we're on now. Stick to the point." I'm like, "I am on the point. The initial point was this." "Well, I've moved on." And I'm like, "Well, I haven't." And so it's just funny because it's like when you're talking to them, they're like done. When they decide that the topic is over, their brain is done and they move on. We multitask our brains, and so I can be talking about 6 things at the same time. It just comes from work and who I am and stuff. Like, I can be talking about something and writing something down and doing something and multitasking and be on 4 conversations at once, and I'm good with that. No, not that man in there. One point, one topic, get back on the point. And I hear that a lot. Get back on the topic. But the initial, or here's the word he uses, and somebody asked about using words, so I'm just going to throw the words out. These are Carl's words, and God love him, because today I'm not bashing him, I'm just saying his words. The root of it is. The root of what? We are like now talking about like the chicken we're having for dinner, right? And it's, well, the root of it was what? When I said, we'll go with that. I'm like, that was like about the hamster and the carrot, and I'm not trying to eat like chicken and noodles here. And we're going back to the root of it. The root of it is I'm starving. And so that's just the way it works. And I can multitask and be on 15 things, but he's still focused on the root of that conversation 6 lines ago. And I've done moved on to the chicken and noodles. They don't do that. They are very focused on one point. One point. Because again, it goes back to combat training. Combat training. Single mission, single objective, actions to get to that objective. And we're not done till we're done. And I posted a picture yesterday, that little lamb chop and the song that never ends, and we've laughed about it because when our veterans, especially Carl, and I know that Michelle has it with Damon, and we all kind of have it, they can talk a point to death. Okay, it's like the song that never ends, and you just want to roll your eyes back in your head. And please, when you're engaging in a conversation with them, do not roll your eyes back in your head. My way to get through it is I sing the lamb chop song in my head over and over again, and I'm really afraid that the words are just going to come out because I have no filter. So I'm afraid that whatever is going on in my head when he's talking to me, it's like they have to debrief. Okay, so you have to, we have our point that we're talking about, we have our objective, we've accomplished that, I'm done. I said something, you said an answer that I thought meant something else, you explained it, we're good, let's go, we're done. Like 3 seconds, right? We're gonna talk about this till we debrief it. Till we debrief what? By the time we get ready to debrief it, I'm gonna be like on 90 other questions or 90 other topics. But we're going to now debrief this. And I'm like, I just want my chicken and noodles here. I don't want to debrief. So the song that never ends, I just sing in my head. Okay, it is a godsend. Find your song, find your something. Still look like you're engaged. Still kind of hear what's going on because we can do that. We got that wave of communication. And if he says something that really needs an answer to, go. Mm-hmm. It is very, very important that you learn the head nod. Okay, I'm just telling you the head nod. So you're sitting there, you're singing, this is a song that never ends. You just learn the head nod. It shows that you're engaged. Just telling you, it works. But when you think about their mindset, and I'm kind of facetious in some of this, but when you think about their mindset and that debriefing, it goes on. So you have to learn that. You have to learn to understand that. We also have to learn that we, especially me, words are weapons. And I think Nakia in her post today was so dead on honest. Okay, like I have like this little notes in my head. I like on your phone you have the note thing. I have this little note thing in my phone that says, hateful things I can say that cause pain. And it must be like this ongoing subconscious running thing that stays in my head. Hurtful notes that will cause pain. Okay. So when he says stuff and he pushes me to that limit and something hurts me, I am on this boom, boom. I am accurate. Boy, I can throw them. I may not have the strong left-right hook combination, but I can do a TKO with words. It's just one of those things I am empowered to do. It's not a gift. I thought it was a gift. It's not a gift. So please understand, it's not a gift. Try not to say the hurtful words. We find ourselves now that we've gotten to this point where we're carrying on conversations, and like I will have listened to. See, that's who I learned it from, was the sister with all the experience, Mr. Kids. She keeps this whole list. She's learned not to do it, and it's been amazing. But I am so dead on accurate with hurtful things. I mean, like, boom. Yeah. You talk about a grenade can be close. Girl, if I was playing horseshoes or I was playing cornhole, I'd hit that hole every single time with my hurtful words. Bam! Dead on accurate. I can just do it. It's like throwing. Great. Try not to do that. Not helpful. So, when we're talking about things, as we start to go, and we start to evolve and getting past the saying the hurtful words, because that is a hard thing to overcome. The hurtful words are so hard to overcome, and we've heard them for so long. But in our defense mechanism, when they start saying things like, "It's your fault, you did this, I'm tired of," "Well, you did," and it's like they're always right and we're always wrong, and they just spew out these hateful, hurtful things to you. Okay, and when they're in their moment, and they spew them out, and so then you have your list, right, your defense list, because you're going to throw them back. Because, any good sport, there's an offense and a defense, and you switch sides, right? So whether you're playing tennis and the ball bobbies and you hit it back and you hit it back, and ping pong same way, badminton, volleyball, football, soccer, we all do it. It's just one of those things, offense, defense. You're playing cards, it's your turn, you get to go be destructive with your rummy or whatever you're playing. It's just, that's the way it works. And even if you're playing Uno and you've held all these reverses and draw fours, and we kind of give it back, we tend to do that in our arguments with them too. So they say hurtful words, we throw them back, and now we've decided, okay, I'm going to keep the hurtful word list somewhere tucked away, just like storing up arsenal that I'm never going to use. I'm just going to put it there in that closet of stuff that I hoard because it's stuff I used in the past, and we just keep it because it's there. We stop using it. And then it comes back up from them. They're like, well, 6 days ago you said this, and it's like tit for tat. And I'm like, but I've stopped because you said you didn't like it, so why are we tit for tatting now? Do y'all get that? Because I get that. Well, you did this in the past. Well, yeah, I did, but I'm stopping it, so can we move on? Where's that new line drawn? That new line is drawn over time. That new line is drawn over time. That's how we draw that line. We draw it over time. It will slowly fade away. So when you stop throwing your bombs of words and your hateful statements, they're still going to say them at times because, again, that's what they're used to. Right? It's going to take them a while to wake up and say, oh my God, she's not saying this anymore. Oh my God, she's not saying this anymore. So that is a big part in what their words mean and their actions mean. They don't sugarcoat. They don't have empathy. It's just something, and I will tell you, y'all, I am so proud of Carl. I am so proud of where we're going. I'm so proud of the fact that there are days, and I'm just like all the rest of you, that you beat your head into the wall. You're like, is he listening to what I'm saying? We all do it, right? We've all done it. I really go back to Nakia and let her be the trump because she's been with him for so long, and he's a Vietnam veteran, and she's loved him since she was in 3rd grade and didn't even need him. But I love that story. But y'all, do y'all ever feel like you're beating your head into the wall? Like, is he listening to me today? Is he getting it? Right? And you do that because their action is still the same. And then all of a sudden, that action goes away. All of a sudden, it goes away because it takes time for them to realize and get deprogrammed to we're not going to do that anymore. They're expecting us to do that. They're expecting us to come back with those hateful words. They're expecting us to get into this. We go back, and because when they're saying hateful things to us, our defense, because we do defend ourselves, our defense becomes throwing back the hateful words. And then we don't understand why it all keeps just jumbling up. And in her thing this morning, Niki's thing this morning, she posted, until you get to the point, which one of you is going to get up and reach the flush button and flush the whole relationship down the toilet? I'm not flushing anything. I love him, and we're going to get through this. But it's just that process. It is that process. We don't have to accept the hateful words, and we shouldn't deal with them. But we have to stop, even if he's the one who spews them first, we have to stop spewing them back. Because all that creates is this battlefield. It's like playing till the death. And we can't do that. So learning that, learning the verbiage, learning what they really mean, confronting them in what you hear. Is that really what... This is how... Don't ever, and even when you're talking to regular people, your friends, your coworkers, just people, don't ever go to them and say, well, you said and you did and I. When you start that you and you automatically throw blame to them, and they become defensive and put up a wall. Okay? You automatically throw blame to them, and they become defensive and put up a wall. Same thing happens to us. When you really think about it, when people come at you, whether it's your boss, look, I am 54 years old and my mother still terrifies the hell out of me. She can make me feel like I'm 13. So whether it's my mother, and when she said, you always do, the minute she says that, I got this wall up, and I'm like, oh, no, I don't. I am 54. You're going to protect myself. I'm done. Okay? What she says is very valid. But when she comes across, you did, I'm like, oh, no, not this sister. This sister didn't do that. So you have to remember the same thing. When you're approaching them and you go into, you said, no, if you come back and just simply say, honey, I heard this. Right? So you're going to tell them what you heard. Right, Southern mamas ain't no lie, sister. I'm terrified of mine. What you heard. Now you're engaging into a conversation. When you say, but you said this, there's no conversation because they did say it. You're done. Point done. They're done. But when you say, I heard this, is that what you really meant? Or am I taking it wrong? Now what are you doing? You're giving them a chance to engage in a conversation. And you're making them aware that the words they say come across weird. Because now I find after we've been doing this a while, Carl comes back to me after he says something like, well, we'll go with that, and say, ooh, you can watch him like bite his tongue as soon as it comes out, and he says, that isn't quite what I meant. And so now we're engaged in a conversation. Of course, it may be the song that never ends, but we're engaged in a conversation. And on my victory wall, yeah, I'm putting this up on my victory wall. The other night we got into something. We were both saying the same thing. We were just saying it a different way. And he looks at me and he says, I think I'm beating a dead horse. And I was like, victory! It was great. But that's the difference in actions and words. So be very careful about your actions, because that protective, disengaged look shuts them off. Especially if you had anybody, you're married to any veteran that did anything with interrogation and interpretation. Everything from the number of times you blink your eyes to whether you look at them. And look, I can be next to him, not looking at him, and he says something to me and he knows I roll my eyes. Don't ask me how he does that. It's like, I guess it's this superhuman thing that he has, like we has had as mamas, where I knew what my kids were doing in the back seat of the car, with the eyes in the back of my head. He's got that ability somewhere. It's like his superpower. And so he has that. And so he says that, and I'm like, oh, I did. Or we'll be talking and I don't want to focus on what he's saying because I've heard it 100 times, so my eyes are kind of going all over everywhere. And he knows that. And if I'm engaging in a conversation that's difficult for me to have, my eyes don't stay focused on his. And so he knows that too. So a little hint, if you always either look at the tip of their nose or look right up here at the top of their forehead, they think you're maintaining eye contact, because sometimes it is hard to maintain eye contact. When you're saying something difficult, it's hard to maintain eye contact. So either look at the tip of the nose or look right up here. It looks the same way. Just not that you don't want to maintain eye contact, but sometimes if we have something difficult to say, it's hard to maintain that because we're looking for the right words. So as we're having this eye contact thing with them, we kind of look up here because we're trying to find the right words so that we don't come across in a certain manner. And the minute you lose that eye contact, they now think that you're rolling your eyes or you're not engaged or you're looking for something deceitful, even though you're really looking for the right words. So I just kind of hope that helped, that opening up kind of helped in the thing. We're all that way. I'm not going to unchange my sugar-coatedness. It's just who I am. Deal with it. I also have no filter. If you don't like that, well, too bad. But it does cause problems. And you have to learn what I had to learn, we had to learn what my downfall was in communication and what his was, and we're slowly starting to get there. And instead of arguing, and these were his words last night, we are no longer arguing, but we are butting heads. And that to me was such a great accomplishment, that he was aware that this wasn't a full-blown argument about right and wrong. This was simply a problem in communicating where we just weren't meshing. And I was so excited about that. So I think we all have to find our moments like that. So that's kind of where we are on today. Again, y'all have a blessed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Enjoy the holidays. I know they can be tough with your veteran. Y'all enjoy your moments. Enjoy those moments. Be prepared. Have conversations with them going into what they can and cannot accept. My thing is Christmas lights. I love to ride and look at them. I used to do it with my daddy. And tonight, I'm going to look at Christmas lights with or without my veteran. It's okay. Do I want him to go? Yes. If he can't go, guess what? I'm going to get my happy tail in the car. I know how to drive. I've been driving since I was 15. I know how to, well, legally since I was 15. I know how to get my tail in the car, and I know how to ride around and look at Christmas lights. And that's just kind of where we have to be in our lives. Monday's topic, y'all, I had an eye-opening experience last night. I'm not sharing a whole bunch. I honest to God, got to live in my own brain with my own PTSD. Just really came to light in a way it's never done before. And I had true flashes. And I talked to Carl about it this morning, and he said, that's what I see. So I really want to share that experience with y'all on Monday, because I just think it is something we have to understand, because I never want to live through that night again, ever. And if they do it on a regular basis, God knows I can't imagine. Don't forget to print out the downloadable. It is done. It is posted. I'm so excited that I am ahead of the game for a month. Our book club, Lisa Harper's, love that book. Cannot wait to do that. If you don't have it, download it. You can get it. I put it on there. It's available on Kindle, Amazon, tons of that. We're going to start that in January. And let me find this one by title, because I'm so excited about this. And if you want to start getting ahead a little bit in the game, we are going to, because I think February we need to kind of concentrate on some love stuff going on. And in February, we are going to use Welby O'Brien. She is a veteran spouse. She truly gets it. If you have not gotten her book, this is probably the book that has gotten me through more than I will ever know, because she talks about multiple sides. And let me find the title, because I'm like flicking through all the pages. Her book is so amazing. And it is called Love Our Vets, Restoring Hope for Families of Veterans with PTSD. Welby is amazing, and that's going to be going into, tell your honey we said hi back. Yes, we're having a book club, Roxy. I'll put all that on there. We're going to do Lisa Harper's book. Let me find it, because it was on this pile, and I've been moved on my piles. I posted it on the group, but we're going to do Lisa Harper's book. It's such an amazing book, and it's on self-preservation, and it goes through the book of Psalms and kind of talks about that we don't have to be perfect. So it's great. And then in February, we're going to do Welby O'Brien's Love Our Vets. A truly amazing book. Again, the downloadables and printables are all done. Yay, I'm so excited that I'm ahead of this game. And we're going to talk about, January can tend to be a very depressing time. The holidays are over. It's cold. It's damp. It's icky. But we're going to talk about rights. Every human being has rights, not necessarily the ones that are in the Constitution. We're going to talk about human rights and the rights that we have. That we have the right to have our own feelings, and we have the right to have our friends, and we have the right to say no, and we have the right to have fear, and we have the right to be angry, and we have the right to use our own values. So that is all going to be covered in January. There will be no Let's Talk, obviously, tomorrow night, because that's Christmas Eve. We're probably gonna move Let's Talk on New Year's Eve up a day. We're talking about that. We'll kind of get everybody's view on that. Y'all have a blessed holiday. You know that we'll be popping in. I'm so excited for everybody. Y'all are an amazing group. Merry Christmas to all of you. Um, don't know how we'd all get through this without each other, but you guys are the best part of this community. And real quick, if you have not gone, it released today, Behind the Service podcast. The interview with Boone Cutler is absolutely spectacular. Have a blessed day. Merry Christmas. I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes, and we're loving my veteran. Bye.